Good morning. I definitely look like I've just woken up. But that's just the life that I lead. So it's time to practice. So welcome. Welcome to the stream on Twitch and on YouTube today. So if you've got an instrument, practice along. If you don't, then either enjoy me practicing or feel free to ask questions about what I'm doing if you don't play any instruments at all, or if you're interested in playing the drums and what that kind of looks like to start, or if there's something that you're working on that you want to learn how to do better, then I'm always up for answering questions. I do a bit of teaching as well, like covering for a drum school that's local to me. But I'll start with warming up, obviously. Now, it might sound like I'm just noodling around, which technically that is true, but the kind of patterns that I'm playing with those little accents, and for those of you that don't know what an accent is just a note that's louder than the notes that are around it. So, for example, I'm accenting those notes, but also that's an accent as well. It doesn't have to be super loud. But what I'm doing is it's not necessarily a musical pattern that I'm playing, but I'm definitely thinking about rhythmical ideas whilst I'm warming up and trying to create an interesting rhythm instead of just playing paradiddles. But as we discovered last week, I did have a tendency to just go a little bit fast. So let's stick a metronome on. Let's be good students. So we'll start off with 120. Nice and steady. So sometimes it takes a little bit of time for my brain and my hands to actually talk to each other. And that's partially because I've just woken up, but also that's because I have to get my brain working in a way where my hands are actually going to respond to what I'm asking them to do. So warming up is kind of mostly just trying things out, making mistakes, I suppose, as well as trying to physically warm up your body. You are trying to warm your brain up. That was a good example of me just making up a kind of rhythmical line that felt a bit more musical while still playing to the metronome. Also just going through some rudiments as I go. If you're a drummer, you may have noticed I did alternating flams for a sec and some drags. Now, there are lots of different rudiments and I definitely don't know all of them, but I know enough that I have like some facility to be able to play some of them and use them in my playing as well. But a lot of the time when I am playing, I'm not thinking, oh, I'm going to play a drag there, or how about I play that as a flam. Usually it's just like play the fill or the part that feels right, and just having that knowledge and facility to play the rudiments just kind of filters into your playing gradually. Unless you're playing in a marching band and you're a snare drummer, then you have to really be on top of it, and that is by no means what I am, as we talked about last week. I feel like that's more of an American thing. In the UK, we definitely don't hammer rudiments as much as Americans do, because of the existence of stuff like high school bands, you know, playing in the school band at the high school American football game, like we all see in the movies but don't see in real life. Thank you to the camera. We will be back. I can't fix that. It just turns off every half an hour or so. But it always comes back. Now, as you can see, I was just looking at my laptop screen, so it's where the camera feed is. But this is a good insight for me into actually looking at my hands side by side, and seeing which ones, what skills one's got and one doesn't. My right hand just doesn't have that thing. Starting to feel a bit more warmed up after about 10 minutes. Maybe I should practice in front of a mirror a bit more, because I think my two hands are definitely very different. Which isn't the end of the world. They don't have to be the same, because they do different jobs. You know, I don't play open-handed, and so they don't kind of have to be able to do the same things. One will always be better at one thing than another, that's for sure. My left hand is much better at those accented doubles. Right, now that I've warmed up my hands a bit, it's now time to warm my soul. I've been told that I'm quite a noisy drinker by my fiance. So if you don't like ASMR, then maybe I should just move the mic away or swallow over here. Lovely. Okay, let's get my practice diary. So actually, since last time, I have actually practiced, and I actually practiced knowing that I'd be doing this today. I practiced for the practice because I felt bad, which I guess it's working. I think that's kind of one way to do it, isn't it? Okay. So last week we did singles, doubles, paradiddles. We did the single stroke and the double stroke bursts. We did some brushes with the comp example 1. Nice. And then the other day I did some finger exercises. Some more singles, doubles, paradiddles. Excellent. So it's probably time to do, well, start off with the bursts, I think. Yeah. So 200 and 205 was where I was. Brilliant. Sounds quite fast. But instead of doing 205, because that will be mental, I'm going to do, well, instead of doing 200, I'm going to do 100. And play double time. Or not necessarily playing double time, but play a smaller subdivision of notes. So this time it sounds like 16th notes. And then bursting up to 32nd notes, technically. Try to burst a bit longer. And longer. Maybe too long. Now, that might not seem very fast for some people, but I'm not particularly fast player. My hands aren't particularly fast. And also getting the excuses in very early this week. I'm using this practice pad, which hasn't got too much rebound. And I'm also using these, they're pretty worn out actually, Corpse Master MS3 sticks. Now these are marching band sticks, so they are in fact massive. They're like tree trunks. And actually, if you compare them to this Extreme 5A, you can't really tell. It's slightly smaller, you can still see that, I guess. But what it means is that I have to work a little bit harder because the sticks are a bit heavier. Now, I don't know if that's the correct way to do things. Whether I'm like stopping myself from being able to like play quickly because I'm kind of slowing myself down by using thicker sticks. I don't know, let's try. I might spill my coffee again, you never know. Well, I guess it does work. But these feel like they're about to fly out of my hands. Let's try doubles then. Yeah, I need to go a bit faster for the doubles. So that was 205, which I can't do 102.5. So let's go up to 206. Okay, a bit longer. Longer. Just about. Well, I should probably try, now that I've pushed the doubles up 1, I should probably just push the singles up to 101. That's only correct. Just about. But not that time. Now, when I'm doing those, I can feel this arm tensing up in my forearm. And that's the point where I have to go, no, I have to stop. Because then I just end up doing myself more harm than good. And I did injure myself middle of last year, late last year. I basically just pulled a muscle because I'm an athlete. So I need to be careful of that because I have a tendency to push things a little bit too far. Okay, well, let's write that down because I did do that. Single bursts 101, double bursts 103. Okay, so I suppose we could do some singles, doubles, paradiddles, couldn't we? And we are talking 160, 175, 145. I think we'll try and put those up today. 165, 180, 150. And over the course of the next 2 hours, or hour and 40 minutes, I'm going to try and do that exercise 3 different times and complete all 3 of them, which might be a bit much, but it's all about repetition, unfortunately. Okay, 165. For single stroke rolls for 1 minute. Get my timer going. Now, it's always the first 20 seconds that kind of determine whether you're going to get to the end on these ones. And it feels okay, but I just need to concentrate and stay relaxed. 30 seconds gone. Five. And 1 minute. Not bad, not bad. Weirdly, my right hand is feeling a lot more tense than my left. But still did it. 180 for double strokes. And if you've just joined us on the stream, welcome. Those doubles sound even. 30 seconds gone. Starting to get a bit more uneven at the end. 10 seconds left. And 1 minute. Now, when we were at uni, because yes, I did go to music uni, as I would say, pretty much every session musician you will see on stage probably did some form of training music-wise at higher education level. Definitely. We don't like to talk about it because we don't think it's very cool, obviously, but we did all go there. And when I was at uni, the kind of like head of drums, a guy called Pat Garvey, who I had private lessons with for a while actually, he's like a monster player, like very much into his prog rock and complicated time signatures. Basically music that not many people listen to because of its complexity. Half of it I just don't get it. Like I don't have the capacity to listen to it, but within that genre, like is right up there with the guys that are doing it in the UK. But he was like, yeah, you know, if you get on the practice pad and do 180 BPM and do doubles and just do it for 10 minutes every day, like he'd do that every day. That was 1 minute, and I was like holding on at the end. That gives you an idea of how good people can get at instruments and how I'm not there. Okay, well, let's do paradiddles at 150, and then I do need to stretch. That's probably why my forearm's a bit tight. Okay, here we go. And that's 1 minute paradiddles. Now, you might have heard that when I was playing those, I was using those accents that we were talking about. But with the other exercises, singles and doubles, I wasn't. Now, that's to do with the way that the strokes within a paradiddle work together and actually are way more natural to play with an accent, just because of the pattern itself. Now, we did used to do, when we were asked to do an unaccented paradiddle at uni or in some sort of exam, it doesn't make any sense. You're having to fight against your natural instinct. You can't necessarily use the kind of natural motion of the stick and the natural motion that you're using to make the accents work. So yeah, there's something for you. Time to stretch. So again, I stretch 2 fingers at a time on each hand. Kind of looks very weird. Kind of looks like something out of Alien. And then I do all together. And I can assure you I'm not double jointed. Definitely not. And then I'll go the other way. I'll pull it towards me. Some people on the internet say you shouldn't do this one because it just pulls and stretches the tendons and the ligaments in your wrist. But it gives me a really nice stretch on top of my forearm, which is where I injured myself. Then I do this one because I often get cramp in here. And then I'll do a couple twists, which I got off a gymnast YouTuber, I think, who was talking about strengthening wrists. And the other side. It's very important to look after your body physically, especially as you get a bit older. I tell you what, it does feel good to stretch. And I guess that's reinforcing the knowledge in that I'm actually doing the right thing. And the other way. Nice. I'm going to have to drink pretty much all of this now because it will be cold otherwise. That's just really the best way to start your day. Oh, it's so good. Now, I did just mute the microphone because I did get incredibly self-conscious about drinking in front of this and all you guys just hearing me slurp away. So, did it. Now, I think I touched on it very briefly last week, but I've been doing an exercise and I did it a couple of days ago using a different grip. So we talked about this being matched grip, and specifically the way that I'm using it is German grip. There is a slightly different one that I have never learned, and I think that's called American grip. But using this French grip right here, the kind of fingers only one, as you can see, my wrist doesn't really move. It's just the fingers that are making the stick bounce, using the momentum of it. And this is one where my left hand is lacking. As you can hear, it's just not as confident. Now, as I said last time, this exercise specifically, because it relies so much on rebound, is better suited on that practice pad that's got more rebound. So I'll come back to this on the other practice pad, I think. I think I'm just going to run the singles, doubles, paradiddles through again, because I'm feeling like it. Paradiddles first though. Tendency to play these a bit too loud. That tires me out a bit. 10 seconds left. There's 1 minute. Nice. Okay, 165. For the single stroke rolls, I'm going to do left hand lead. I don't know if that's a bit rogue, but so left hand lead means starting with the left hand. Now, as a right-handed player, pretty much everything I'm doing, I'm trying to make right hand lead because it's my strong hand, and that's just pretty much what everyone is doing. But what that does mean is that the left hand gets a bit left out. So it's good to try. That's 30 seconds. $15 to go. And that's 1 minute. Now, that being left hand lead actually made that exercise way more difficult, because my left hand just, because it was leading, extra pressure, you know. And I don't know if it's a psychological thing, because it's not physical, because last time right hand lead, it had no problem. Okay, again, left hand lead, but double strokes for 1 minute. Here we go. There's the left hand lead. Trying to keep them even. Don't want this kind of like one-sidedness. think I'll try and increase the volume for the last 30 seconds. Which is a lot harder. And I am regretting doing it. So, as you probably heard in that last, 30 seconds, the evenness of those strokes definitely changed. And they became a little more uneven. Which is what we're trying to avoid. But you have to be able to hear it going wrong in order to fix it. And that's why people take lessons, because when you first start learning an instrument, you can't necessarily hear if you're playing it wrong. You just play what you think is right, which is why musical tuition is incredibly important when learning an instrument. If you want to continue to progress on the instrument itself, you don't have to have lessons to write songs or play music in a band. You don't have to do that at all. And I still have a lesson. It's a very loose lesson. So I've had the same drum teacher since I was 7 years old, which is when I started playing the drums. Which I've been doing for almost 27 years now. And you can do the maths to figure out how old I am. And I have the lesson with the same tutor that it taught me all those years ago at the very beginning. But now we mostly just have a cup of coffee and we talk about the kind of nuances of playing. For example, 2 weeks ago, we talked about how to improve my bass drum technique and how about I should stop playing in my Crocs and start playing in my socks, because then I'll be able to feel the bass drum pedal better. Now, sounds very obvious that I would be able to feel the pedal better if I'm in socks, but I've never played in socks before, always playing shoes. So that's something that I need to try to hopefully improve my playing when I am playing in shoes, because evidently I don't play live in socks. No way. Okay. Now, I think I'm going to go back to the jazz stuff. I've got all my books down here, very conveniently. And I'm going to go back to this book, The Art of Bop Drumming, which is the one that I was using last time for this kind of brushes stuff that I've been doing. So I'm going to go back to that comp example and I'm just going to play the... So, these are all 2-bar measures. You can't see them at all, but you'll just have to believe me. They're all 2-bar measures, and usually I would play them through 4 times each before moving on to the next one. Now, if I do that, you'll watch me do this for the next 15 minutes, because I'm not going to be playing them particularly quickly. So I think I'll play them through twice, just to make sure I've got the right pattern. And I'll try and play through both pages. So you're just going to listen to some jazz brushes for 5-10 minutes or so, I guess. So comp exercise 1, brushes at 100. That's what it says on here. Start with 100. I've never actually done this with the metronome before, so we'll see what 100 sounds like. Hundred's very doable by the sound of that. Now I need to turn my metronome up because I can't really hear it. That's not right. Now, I just want to share something very quickly that I've just figured out as I was playing through these exercises, is that the pattern that I struggle the most with is on the left hand, because the left hand is doing the sweeping round like this. So to play the accent, or to play the pattern, and try and keep that as smooth as possible, that's the most difficult one for me. The stuff that happens on the right hand is simple, but just not feeling like I have to hold the brush on the head as long as I've been doing, like that actually enables me to get the pattern better and keep it as consistent, still keeping it consistent and sounding good. Just thought I would share that with you. That's better. Oh, how do I play that one? Ooh, that's very interesting. Oh, who's that in the Jay Schwai? Yeah, I think I know who that is. If that's you, Sheppy, good to see you, pal. Good to see you. Come join the fun. Come join the fun. So I've got to figure this one out. It's quite difficult. Okay, I think I've got it. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's it. Last time. Oh, another hard one. Another hard one. That's it. Easier than I thought. Goodness me. That last one was hard to make sound good. That's why I did it about 4 times. But yes. That's hard. I'm not very good at that. So I guess we'll have to come back next time and see if I can do it any better. But that pattern sounds good on its own. I would say when you start to get playing with those brush patterns, when you're doing these comp examples and adding bits in, it doesn't matter so much about the consistency of the left hand swirling around, you know. But slow, it's more obvious when you take that hand off the head, that's for sure. Now, one thing that I'm not good at is rudiments in traditional grip. Like I said last time, I don't play traditional grip, but when I play brushes, I do. Because the way that the patterns work together, they're all kind of designed by people who played traditional grip, because that was the way that everyone played back then. So I need to improve a little bit on this, but specifically playing with brushes. I'm not interested in sticks, because brushes are a whole different world. Let's get the other practice pad going over here. Let's get the snares on as well for a bit of fun. So paradiddles with brushes. And singles. Oh, I'm not very good at that. This brush is sliding all over the place. If anyone's got any tips, because my hand is just moving more and more like this. Any traditional players out there? I don't know what that is, but it sounds good. Well, that's very kind to Army 006. So these are brushes. So let me tell you about the different sticks. So we've got these regular wooden sticks made out of typically hickory. And then we've also got sticks that look like this, brushes, which are extendable. And the more you extend them, the more they splay out at the end. And you get a different sound. It's a lot lighter if you spread them out like that. And if you... It's a bit more focused, that sound. Less... Because what's happening is, because all of these bits of metal, the brushes are made out of metal, they're all hitting the drum at ever so slightly different time. You can see that they're not... Well, you can't see, actually. They're not completely straight. So when you have a lot of them splayed out like that, they create this what's called flamming. So flamming is when there's two notes or more than two notes played at the same time, but one comes slightly before the other. So I can demonstrate that with two hands much easier. But what's happening is a tiny flamming effect when you play with brushes. Tiny, tiny, tiny. But when you kind of make them more focused, they get a bit close together. And it sounds less like a flam, and more like if you were just using a drumstick. But just to come back to my rudiments with these brushes, is the grip that I'm playing with, I don't use any other time. So I don't think my technique's particularly good. I don't know whether I should keep my hand more open like this or whether it's okay for it to roll over a little bit like that. Where's my friend Laurie when I need him? That's a trad grip guy, and he could definitely tell me. They're interesting, right? And you can get so many different sounds out of these brushes. So these ones are Vic Firth Heritage brushes, right? So we've obviously got the metal brush section. We've got this metal thing on the back, which is obviously used to take them in and out, but you can use that. You can use that for a different sound. And then this section where I'm holding it, these are kind of slightly rubbery. So what you can also do is use it more like a mallet. And I'll show you what a mallet looks like. This is a mallet here. You've seen maybe like drummers in orchestras using these, playing on those big timpani drums with these. So you can use these to swell, but if you've only got a pair of brushes and you've got these ones, you can get a similar effect out of it, which is pretty cool. Which is why jazz drummers are very particular about the brushes that they use. So yeah, I don't really know if I've got the right technique here, because what's happening is this is just rotating round in my hand, which isn't giving me a particularly consistent stroke. 3 in 1, just like shampoo. That's actually fun. Yeah. That's very true. I guess it's the lazy drummer's choice, really, because you could spin this around and you could play it like this. You could. If you're going to buy one pair of sticks to last you your whole life, it's a pair of brushes, really. Now, I'm definitely going to have to ask someone about this, because the way I'm doing this does not feel right. Who could I ask? So Laurie. And I could probably also ask my friend Joel, who plays drums for Olivia Dean. He's a jazz guy, proper jazz guy. Yeah, I agree. I always ask YouTube. It's YouTube or... No, it's just YouTube. If I want to know how to do something, if I want to know about anything, someone's made a really good video and put it on YouTube. There's so much information on there. Well, now you can ask Twitch as well, if I'm streaming. Right, I think I'm going to go back to... So there were some other brush patterns that I did last week, which I should just revisit from this brush artistry book. This conventional stroke, which sounds pretty cool. Kind of a bit more like... It's not like a kind of constant sweeping sound. It kind of has a very definitive start and stop, starting on beat 2, finishing on beat 3, starting on beat 4, finishing on beat 1. So you're welcome for the knowledge. Now, what I struggled with last time I did this was getting it to stop and not wobble around. It makes me feel like I'm going to war. Yeah, it kind of does. It's very like just playing a snare drum, also with traditional grip as well, is very like military band, or, well, I suppose American high school bands come from military bands. And actually I can give you some actual military band knowledge and why this grip exists. So most people playing the drums with what's called match grip, like this. So both wrists kind of turned over. But when military drummers first started out, they had their big drum and they would have it over their shoulder and it would be by their side as like they would march along, right? So they tried to play it like this, match grip, but they were struggling to get this left hand over to be able to play the drum. It was very awkward having it like this. So they then developed this grip where they hold it like this, like that. So then it's easier for them to play the drum whilst it's on their side as they're marching along into battle to inevitably die, unfortunately. So that's where this grip comes from. That's why it exists. And it was just adapted by jazz drummers because that was the way that everyone played before, until someone popularized match grip more. I suppose if you play it slow as well, it's quite ominous. I do feel like I'm marching to my death a little bit when I play that. Maybe I should try a bit quicker. Now when I play it faster, I can't control it as well as I did before. Now, yeah, it is like, there's a reason for everything, you know, like, and YouTube and Twitch will tell you that. And now we're walking faster towards the end. Yes, we're walking faster towards our deaths. But I tell you what, I'd never made that connection of it being a military thing. I've always just associated it with just jazz, because that's the way where I've learned it from. That's my reference point. And that sounds like a slow death. Someone's fallen in the battlefield. Can't really play that one particularly quick, I don't think. But that's one of them. Different stroke. And then we've got... the smooth one. So the left hand goes over the top. So we're doing small circles with the right hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's a real smooth one. Appropriately named the smooth one. That would work nicely for some slow tempos, like a ballad. 2, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Nice, another good one. Now let's try this palm up one. This one I really do struggle with. Never been into drums, but this is giving me a good feeling. Welcome to the drums. Come on in. By far the coolest instrument to play, because it's just like there's so much going on. Like, I think that the thing is that it is also like, I picked the wrong one, because whenever I'm doing a gig, look how much nonsense I have to bring with me. It's just like, it's a huge mistake every time I leave the house. Mistake. But it is definitely the coolest instrument to be able to play. And that is like a real joy, that I've picked the cool one, but I've also picked the one that I have to carry loads of stuff up and down stairs. It's the worst. All the more reason to stay in shape. So this one's called Palm Up. And this is the one that's got a little, let's make these a bit smaller, make it easier. A little flick at the end. Yeah, I could put the flute in my pocket, literally. Have you seen Anchorman, the movie? The bit where Ron Burgundy goes to the jazz club and just like gets asked to get up on stage and play jazz flute. And he just like literally pulls it out of his sleeve. It's such a good bit. So funny. But yeah, that's it. You could just take it, just slot it in your pocket like this. Take your flute with you. Not for drums. So this palm up one. It says snap. Lift and return off the drum to tail. Yeah, I think it flicks. Been into music your whole life, but didn't also try to learn how to play any instruments. Well, here's something interesting. Here's something really cool, actually. So everyone thinks that, everyone thinks it's socially accepted that in order to learn a skill, you have to start super young. And to be really, really good at something, you have to start super young. Now, you get so many more years to try something if you start young. That's true. But your ability to learn something doesn't go away as you age. Now, my brother's a doctor, but he also did a master's in neuroscience, and he studied something called plasticity, which is essentially your brain's ability to learn new skills. Now, all of the studies show that the plasticity, whilst it does decrease slightly over time, it doesn't just disappear. It's not like you can't learn anything brand new after you've had your teenage years. If you want to learn a new skill, you can. It just might be a little bit harder to get started. And I teach plenty of adult students as well. You know, people into their kind of like midlife, equally kind of people around my age as well, kind of like early 30s. But these people are still learning something new and are able to progress as well. So what I'm trying to say is, it's never too late to start anything. And specifically music. You could start learning drums. That would be really cool if you decided to start learning drums by like after watching me do this. Like, that's pretty cool. But you can choose any instrument, and you can learn any instrument at any age, which is pretty special, because there are a lot of things that you can't do as you get older. You know, like physically you can't do certain sports, or, you know, things like that. So if you want to pick up an instrument, you can. Go and do it. It'd be great. Now let's see if I can crack this. It's never too late. It's just about choosing the right one because you like all of them. Yeah, that is the danger. That is the danger. I actually posted a video the other day about like it being the new year and being like, yeah, I'm going to learn all of the instruments, and then just not learning any of them because you get decision paralysis. So you're right. That's the hardest part, is actually choosing an instrument. So with this one, I need to kind of like flick at the same time. That's what's making it sound good or bad. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. Pretty good, actually. Quite pleased with that, because that was one I just could not do before. Let's try another. Trill, this one's called. Show you the diagram, not that it's very helpful. So this one is sweeping like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. But it seems like it's sliding triplets. Okay, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. That's what it wants me to do. So it's 1 triplet. You can also do it 8th notes as well. Okay. 1, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1 triplet, 2 triplet. You remember that you were into oud for a long time. So Hameo 006, I don't know what an oud is. I'm going to have to, probably YouTube. Oud instrument. Oh, cool. So an oud is A Middle Eastern short-necked lute type, pear-shaped fretless stringed instrument. That's really cool. I'd never even heard of that. Let's try Wikipedia. 11 strings grouped in 6 courses. Oh, okay. So in the same way that a 12-string guitar is 6 groups of 2, 11 strings grouped into 6 groups, so I assume 5 pairs and just a single. Let's have a sound sample then. That's really cool. Okay, Sheppy, if you're on the stream, mate, get an oud going. Let's get that going. I want to see you ripping an oud. It sounds difficult. I can imagine the tuning must be completely different to kind of like a Western tuning. Because that's what happens, is that different cultures have got different tunings and different like intervals in between their notes often. You know, like in Western music we have like whole tones and half tones in between notes, whereas if you get into places kind of like South Asia, etc., then they can get into kind of quarter tones, so notes that are even closer together. Like, surprisingly not that expensive to buy. Okay, let's get a couple ouds in, and dueling, like harmonize them together. It is so beautiful, but I can imagine it's crazy hard. I can imagine that like fretting the notes is maybe a bit difficult because it's got pairs of strings. Is that true? If you're kind of doing, if you're playing a 12-string guitar, for example, is that harder because you're pressing down 2 strings at once? Is that right? Sheppy will enlighten us, I'm sure he will. So this is the trill pattern. It's meant to be a bit faster, I think. It depends on the string thickness. If the doubled string is thin, it shouldn't be too hard. Okay. So if you're playing a doubled string, obviously on a 12 string, they're the same pitches, but the doubled string might be thinner, but they're always the same pitches. Interesting. Usually an octave above. Excellent. Learn something new every day. Thank you, Sheppy. Actually sounds real good when I play that. Okay, octave above and then it's a thin string. Yeah, very nice. Learning about like Middle Eastern and Arabic instruments is amazing. Tommy 006. I used to hear it all the time when I was young because most of the Middle Eastern music that has the instrument. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's got like, I always think about the tones and the scales that like specifically like Middle Eastern and Arabic music uses. Arabic music, I think that's probably a good descriptor. Like it always feels quite like a little bit like hypnotic in the way that it's played, but it's in the kind of like it kind of can take you to another place. You know, like there's it's in Turkey, isn't it? Like where they have those dervishes who like spin round and round like they're in a trance. And obviously that's to do with the motion of the dance that they're doing. But I reckon that the music that accompanies that also has like a part to play in the kind of hypnosis element, I suppose. It's really interesting how different tones and different scales can give you different feelings, and it could be different for everyone. Like, that's just really cool. It's really cool that that was like the music that you heard when you were younger, like being surrounded by that. I mean, what did I listen to when I was younger? All the music that my dad listened to. The amount of times we listened to Bon Jovi was unreal. Just classic rock all day, every day. I think I would have much preferred the oud. There's the quarter tone thing that you have. Amazing. Yeah, so that obviously is in far more places than I thought. Definitely in a lot of South Asian music, but also in Middle Eastern music as well. Interesting. So how would you tune that? The oud. That's just because I'm just thinking of like a guitar in like standard tuning, or EAD, GBE. But there's quarter tones. I don't even know how those are notated. I don't even know what they're called. I am gonna be all up in oud YouTube after this. I can tell you that for free. I'm going to be learning about the tunings, the quarter tones, and everything. It's going to be a good day. It's going to be a good Monday. Right, let me go back to this trill. Oud tube, if you will. Thank you, Sheppy. Fantastic. Can't believe I missed that one. That's very poor form from me. Oud tube. That's pretty cool. And then it says I can also do quavers as well instead of triplets. That would be more of a shuffle, I guess. That's harder, definitely. This stroke is excellent for ballads or fast tempos and looks superb to the audience. I hope it looks superb to you guys. Your dad used to listen to everything. His playlist was so random. Yeah, I think I didn't experience like lots of different types of music outside of my drum lessons, because my teacher would obviously introduce me to like lots of different styles of music, but they're all Western styles of music. Like, I never really explored the drumming from other cultures, like outside of like Western music, which, you know, evidently I've missed out because I didn't know what an oud was. And now I'm just going to be learning everything about, you know, all the drumming as well, because like drums exist in so many different cultures. Right then. I think that's enough brushes for me. I think I've had enough. I think I'm going to go back to my practice pad. See if I can do the singles, doubles, paradiddles again. What are we looking at? 165, 180, 150. Get my practice diary up there. Drums in the Middle East are more similar to the African drums. Yeah, I suppose so. That's interesting too. Because I do have some percussion. I've got a djembe, which I believe is never eat shredded wheat, West African, and that's kind of, I mean, that's the drum that you'll see when you see people doing a drum circle. You know, like I've got one of those. I've also got a set of bongos too, because I'm trying to learn percussion. Maybe that's what I'll do next week. I'll just learn bongos. Who knows? But I'd be really interested to know what Middle Eastern drums are like. Whether they look similar to what I'm imagining. Because I see every so often I get a clip on social media of a drummer at like a Middle Eastern wedding, and he's got like super, super thin sticks, and all the drums are pitched up really high. They sound like what I know as a timbale. Like, they sound like that, and it's just such a vibe. Like, it just looks like so much fun. I'll have to, again, I'm just going to be deep in YouTube all day, aren't I? It's not a bad thing. Not a bad thing. Okay, 165 single strokes for 1 minute. Left hand lead again. Seconds. Seconds. Oh, it really fell apart at the end there. Now that's because I've been doing brushes for like 40 odd minutes. And actually my muscles have just cooled all the way back down. But still, I did get there. Let's go for double strokes then. Keep them nice and even. This is a lot harder. That's 1 minute. Goodness. Let's just pause that there. Goodness me. And paradiddles. Last one for 150. Nice. That's pretty good. That's pretty good stuff. Got to stretch back out again. Goodness. Maybe, you know, next week when I do this, and the following weeks, maybe I'll just not. You felt the pain in your arms, yeah. I certainly felt it in my arms, Tommy. Am I saying that right? Tohami? Tohami? Yeah, I definitely need to warm back up again. Maybe in the next couple of weeks, I'll not just practice drums. Maybe I'll bring in some percussion, because I certainly don't know how to play those instruments. Tohami, yeah, nice. Tohami. Thank you very much. Names are important. And maybe I'll do less of like practice pad kind of stuff. I mean, obviously the goal eventually is to have this all mic'd up and running through my interface so I can play drums and you can hear all of that. But the thing with that is, genuinely, and this is like such an embarrassing problem, is that because I've got a really old camera, it doesn't like zoom all the way out. It doesn't have like a wide enough lens. So I can't actually get it far enough away from the drum kit to like get it all in. That's very embarrassing. Because otherwise I've got all the other stuff to do the drums. But maybe in the next kind of couple of weeks or so, I'll play some other instruments. And you can just watch me suck at those. Because that's the whole part of learning and practicing. You have to embrace sucking at something. And if you don't embrace sucking at something, then you will never progress with it. Because if it just becomes kind of too hard, you're like, oh, I suck, so I'll stop. Then you won't actually progress with it. But if you kind of embrace that, we're like, I'm going to suck at this. And because I'm going to suck at this and I'm going to try, eventually I will get better at it. And that's the whole like point of this, is to just like show that people don't just like pick up instruments and are just incredible at them. You have to work at it. You have to like work on the craft, and you have to try. You know, not everything just is overnight. Now, maybe I'll play some other instruments, because I have some basic piano skills, some basic guitar skills, that's for sure. And, you know, it would be quite embarrassing to practice guitar on here if Sheppy's in the chat as well, because he's actually very good. That's how it goes all the time, you know, yeah. Absolutely. If you want to get better at anything, you have to embrace sucking at it. I think it's too easy for people to just give up. I wish people wouldn't give up as readily as they do, because you get so much joy from this. Like that validation of like, oh, I actually like tried really hard and got a lot better. Like, especially with like this rudiment stuff that I'm doing, it's so boring. And like, thank you everyone for actually being on the stream and like watching me do this. But like the actual act of doing this, just sitting here and doing the rudiments, it's really boring. Like, and I don't like doing it. But what I have taught myself to do, kind of tricking my own brain in a way is that, like, I hate doing it, really begrudge doing this, but I tell myself that even though you hate doing it, you are getting better by doing it. Which is kind of a weird place to be, because then it's like, oh, I'm passively getting better, and it's almost like it's almost like a bit of masochism as well. It's like, I hate doing this, but I'm getting better. So I think it's that works for me. But if you can trick yourself into doing things that you don't enjoy doing, knowing it, and getting better, then it's just a bit of a cheat code, I suppose. Not that there are any, like, fast tracks to getting good at something. Being bad at something is always the start. No one was born knowing how to walk. Yeah, that's... To me, you're very wise. Very wise, actually. Like, I feel like that could be a proverb or something. Like, or an inspirational quote. You should get that on a poster and start selling that on Etsy, because I think you could be a millionaire. Being bad at something is always the start. No one was born knowing how to walk. Yeah. Put it on a t-shirt, put it on a mug, just plaster it everywhere. Very wise words, thank you. Well, actually, now I feel incredibly inspired to keep practicing for the rest of the day. To me, you've really given me a bit of a fresh perspective. And I'm going to do, so like that exercise I was talking about, that French grip exercise, this one. I mean, literally, it's that on each hand for a minute at a time. Do it for 10 minutes. Which I'm not going to do on this stream because it's actually incredibly boring. I'm going to save it until after the stream ends. Because actually I think I've gained some motivation to do it. And that's another thing about practicing. Is it's like motivation versus discipline. And, you know, people say, like, being talented versus just working hard. Like, discipline always beats talent. Like, you can be naturally good at something, but if you don't bother to work at it, then you won't be as good as someone who's not naturally good at something, but has just worked really hard. So discipline always wins. But it's hard to practice when you're not feeling motivated, or you're not feeling like you want to do it. You know, you don't have motivation, you don't have like enthusiasm for it. But that discipline stuff is really, that's the strong stuff. But now, Tuhumi's given me some real motivation. So I don't have to feel as disciplined. Frederick Nietzsche side in me is talking from time to time. Yeah. Sometimes it'll just come out. Sometimes that kind of like philosophizing will just be present and, you know, be on show for the world to see. Maybe I should be reading some kind of more philosophers' work, because it'll probably have so much kind of crossover with the creative side of things. thinking what else I can do without kind of getting to really, really kind of boring stuff. Let's see if I've got anything in here that I've done previously that might be of interest. You're actually trying to read more from time to time because it's always good for your brain and mentality. Absolutely. I've kind of set myself a goal of reading 4 fiction books and 4 non-fiction books this year. And yeah, I it's so much fun to do in the first instance, but it is just good for also slowing down, because so much of life is fast-paced and online and very fleeting. It's nice to actually take some time to slow down and to maybe be a bit more present, because I'm definitely very capable of doom scrolling for hours almost. It's always good for your brain to not look at a blue screen, even though what we're doing now is looking at blue screens. But, you know, taking some time to read is really good for you. And I'm very, very bad at it. So I'm having to try to do that, which takes some willpower, some energy, but like you say, it's worth it. What else have we got? Okay, we've got some again, it's all kind of like endurance-y kind of watch me hit a practice pad for 10 minutes kind of stuff. So instead, I think I'm going to go back to the brushes, do another comp example, but do a more complicated one. Probably 100 BPM again, nice and slow. Yeah, it is so peaceful to just sit there and read. I've been trying to do it for 15 minutes. 15 minutes of reading just before I go to bed. And my partner, who is a writer, we read together for 15 minutes on the phone because we don't live in the same house. And that is just a really nice thing to share, but also kind of just is a very calming thing to do, you know. It using your imagination, because I think that as people kind of grow older, they lose their imagination. And I'm desperately trying to hold on to as much of it as I can, really. Because otherwise, I don't know, life will just be boring, will it not? Just sit there and read and immerse yourself in a world. I mean, I also like reading kind of fantasy and sci-fi books. I'm currently reading the 3rd book in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy series, it's such a whimsical book. It's ridiculous. It's completely ridiculous, but it's so fun and jovial that it's just immersing myself in a make-believe world. Okay, so this comp example, I'm going to hold it a bit closer, see if it can see it. No, that's out of focus entirely. Brilliant. So this one's more complicated, and I'm just going to try and do the first page of it, I think, at 80. Or I'm going to have to see how I get on, tell you that. You can't imagine yourself without imagination. Yeah, it would be incredibly boring. I don't know why it's something that's almost beaten out of you. You know, it's imagination is for kids. But so many of these authors and creative people, you know, they have to keep their imagination because it's their job, you know. But why does everyone else have to get rid of it? Not really fair. So just to tell you what how this is harder than the previous one, is this is using triplets instead of just eighth notes. So basically I'm having to play more notes in some of these patterns, more complex rhythms, by using these triplets, this different subdivision. These are interesting. So these are going to be hard. This will make my brain work. That's not the right way to do it. Maybe I just play it with one hand. That's the best way to do it. Yeah, this is to me. This is hard. This is real hard. I'm not really sure, like, how to do this. I have to go to work now, but it's nice to talk to you, and I'm sure that I'm going to be here again in more. Oh, that's amazing. Thank you so much for being here, and also, like, being in the chat, because having this conversation is, like, it's really great for me to just talk these things through for myself, and also to learn something new with you. So thank you, Tumi. I'll see you next time, my guy. But yeah, this is hard, and I don't actually think I can do it, really. I think I'd need to ask a teacher first and foremost, how to do this, how to orchestrate these. Or maybe one of my jazz friends has got some knowledge that I don't have. Some intel, probably. I think that's what I need. Maybe I'll ask Laurie or Joel. They'll know. Or just get a lesson, you know. See you later, two of me. Yeah, I don't know how that works physically. Yeah. Jazz friends know all exactly. I'm on, you know, maybe I'll be a jazz friend eventually. If I could be a jazz friend, that's a high accolade within music, isn't it? Being referred to as someone's jazz friend. They know all the stuff, all the harmony, all the kind of complex rhythmic stuff. I just don't have I never had the kind of enthusiasm when I was younger to start. You're so far away from being someone's jazz friend. It is really high praise to be the jazz friend. Absolutely. That's why I'm trying to learn jazz, because then if I can ever be someone's jazz friend, the authority, you know. Maybe that's how you would do it. By learning jazz, you've already become my jazz friend. Thank you, Sheppy. Look at that skill. Well, if you start playing jazz guitar, Sheppy, then maybe we'll get a little jazz trio together. How about that? Who could we get to play bass? Johnny Thwaites play jazz bass? So now I'm just going to improvise a little bit. What's that pattern? Nice. To anyone who's just joined us, welcome. We've been practicing drums, jazz drums, and rudiments for, it's coming up for 2 hours now. And this is kind of part of my Monday practice along with me kind of thing that I'm doing online. So if you have any questions, because technically I'm meant to be ending in a couple of minutes. If you have anything you'd like to ask, then please go ahead. and I need someone to teach me how to play brushes with traditional grip, if anyone's around. But there's another pattern which is quite nice. Do you set out a longer plan for your practice? Like, are you chipping away at a 10-week thing, or do you go session by session? That's a good question. I don't think I necessarily have, like, in this 10 weeks, I want to achieve this. I've set some goals. I've set some goals for the year, which are a lot of like tempo-based rudiment stuff, which it's obviously very easy to do things like that with drums, because it's just like, well, I want to play this faster. I want to be able to play things that are faster and not feel like my arms are about to fall off. But then I've got exercises that I try and do daily. Emphasis on the try. But then I have like musical stuff, like the jazz stuff, which I'll practice. I don't think there's like a kind of long-term plan apart from the goals that I've set for the year with like the tempos. I think that if you're off the practice train, you need a bit of structure. I mean, start off with, it can be like just technical exercises, really. Just whether it's scales or, whether it's like learning a new scale. Just start with something that is very easy to see the progression with it. Because then if you're doing things like that, it just filters in to all the other stuff that you do. Like you'll suddenly find yourself maybe playing an idea based off the new scale that you just learned. But I'm definitely a victim to going too hard too fast. Definitely. And I find myself just burning out because I've tried to do 5 hours of practice a day. Doesn't work. It's just about consistency. If you can do little and often, like 15 minutes here, like 15 minutes there, you might end up in a day practicing for about an hour in like 4 little chunks. It's just about finding something as well that you're excited to learn. So if I'm learning jazz, maybe you should, Sheppy. Like work on your like comping and all the gypsy jazz stuff. That's quite fun. That's impressive stuff to just whip out as well. It's good. So that would be my advice. It's about the consistency. You've got to try and do as much as you can, but stay consistent with it. Not overdoing it is key. Gypsy jazz is a world of hurt, yeah, but it's so outside of your comfort zone that you'll make the most progress with it. Do you know what I mean? And that's so much more satisfying than like, I improved my single stroke rolls by 3 BPM from 200 to 203. It's like, well, who really cares actually? But if you can now play like 5 gypsy jazz tunes because you've started from scratch, that's going to feel way better trying something new. Well, my friends, thank you for joining me again on a Monday morning. I don't know if it's grey outside. It probably is because the curtains are closed. But it'll be the same time next week. And I might think about doing some other streams. If I can get some other kind of stuff sorted out at different times, maybe an evening, because I've not got anything on. Don't worry about that. Nothing going on over here. So, yeah, thank you very much for joining me. And I'll catch you next time.